In the previous video, we have tested the car in urban, suburban, rural and off-road. It has been a pleasing experience with the car. Frankly speaking, I like this car. A conclusion for how this car drives. First, it is the comfort. The cabin has been refined with better soundproofing. Wind noise and road noise is barely noticeable. Then is the magic of the suspension. It is noticeably stiffer than the previous generation. It reduces so much body roll and chances of bottom out. The passenger won't get swing around and bounce around. And not only that, it improves handling at the same time, which is the second thing I want to talk about. The car reacted fast to my steering input without hesitation. At the same time, the high-speed stability is improved. And on top of that, to make the handling better, the brakes are so much better than the previous generation, making the car so much more enjoyable to drive. It is not easy to make a car to be good in comfort and handling at the same time, but it seems like Isuzu really nails it in the all-new dmax. So what about off-road performance? This is the third thing I want to talk about. The water wading depth is 200mm higher than the previous generation. Not to forget to mention, there's a factory rear diff lock comes as standard for the xterrain model. So it is not only good on-road performance, it is a beast when it comes to off-road. As an owner of the first and second generation dmax, I'm happy to report that it improves so much from the previous generation, but each generation is having their own way to charm. So since we have 3 cars together over here, let's do a walk around tour and a comparison in details. The first generation dmax over here is a 3-litre 4x4 automatic. This is the top of the line full spec. It cost less than 100,000 in 2010. The second generation dmax over here is a 2.5 4x4 manual. This is the basic spec. It cost less than 90,000 in 2014. A top spec Safari Edition 3-litre automatic should cost less than 120,000 at the time. As for the main subject we want to talk about today, this is the top of the line xterrain model 3-litre automatic. This range-topping model cost 142,000 ever since it is released in 2021 and remained the same in 2022. It offers 7 years and unlimited mileage warranty. After 2 days of driving this car, I was thinking to myself, should I get one? Back in year 2005, the first generation Isuzu dmax reached our shore with a 3-litre 4JJ1 engine. This turbo intercooler diesel engine only produced 136 horsepower and 280 Nm of torque. The engine is paired with a 4-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual. The size of intercooler is only half of the grille. In year 2013, in the second generation dmax, the engine was updated with a variable geometry turbo. With this upgrade, the engine is able to produce 177 horsepower and 380 Nm of torque. The size of intercooler has become full length. This engine is being paired with a 5-speed automatic or a 5-speed manual. In year 2021, in the all-new third generation dmax, the engine had several updates and it was renamed to 4JJ3. It is now producing 190 horsepower and 450 Nm of torque. This engine is being paired with 6-speed automatic or 6-speed manual. So, with almost 20 years of history and evolution, the engine has been proven to be bulletproof, and not only that, it is kept on being improved to serve us better. For the first generation dmax, the front suspension is using torsion bar, where the rear suspension is using leaf spring but leaf under axle. As for underbody protection, it seems like there's only a skid plate for the radiator. Coming to the second generation, the front suspension has been changed to use coil spring. As for the rear suspension, it's leaf spring over axle. For underbody protection, the skid plate now covers until engine. Coming to the all-new third generation, the suspension geometry has been revised for the front. The upper control arm has been moved out. The anti-roll bar was previously linked to the lower arm and now is being linked to the knuckle. Doing this improved the handling greatly. And not only that, it's having more down travel than the previous generation, and this would greatly improve the off-road capabilities. For the rear, from 4 leaf become 3 leaf. Also the leaves is now longer. there's a huge gap between the main leaf and the overload leaf, therefore it feels less bumpy. As for the underbody protection, the skid plate now covers until gearbox. In terms of exterior design, to me each generation is beautiful in their own way. As for the size, the main highlight would be the second generation, because it is the longest among them. It is 260mm longer than the first generation. In the same time, it is also 30mm longer than the third generation. The third generation is just 10mm wider, 15mm taller, and 5mm higher in ground clearance than the second generation. The main highlight of the third generation is the wheelbase. It is 30mm longer than the second generation. That would contribute to more high-speed stability and comfort, also more cabin space. Now, we all know, the newer generation is getting taller and taller, but the thing is, my second generation is running on oversized tires, which is around 25mm higher than normal second generation. Judging from the spec sheet, the third generation is just 15mm higher than the second generation, but the third generation still looks a lot more taller than my second generation. Upon measuring, only I discovered the bed height and the window slide of the third generation is so much taller. It makes the car looks a lot more handsome. One of the things I like about Isuzu's tailgate is the stopper. It uses metal flat bar with hinges instead of cable. However, that is not available if you have the tailgate assist. Well, you have to sacrifice the metal mechanism in order to make way for the damper. Anyway, I prefer to have the damper. The first generation dmax in this video belongs to my friend. My first generation dmax has been sold back in 2019. Although I used my car for work purpose, it is still being kept in pristine condition until I sold my car. Judging from the look of this car, it seems like this car has been gone through 12 years of abuse. Although it is being abused and neglected, when I was driving the car, I can feel that it is still pumping strong. I think this is a very good example of Isuzu's reliability. The first generation dmax is a very comfortable car because it has a very soft suspension setup, but due to the soft suspension, it is only comfortable at low speed. The high speed stability is not really good. The body roll during corner is quite significant. Well, take this as a bloopers. That's 12 years of abuse. The sunglass compartment is one of my favorite. The armrest compartment is very funny because it is too small. Going back to the first generation, only I realized the rear passenger space is so tight. The seat cannot be flipped up, but the backrest can be flipped down. The second generation dmax in this video is my car. It was being purchased only for work purpose. Therefore, I did not purchase the full spec. The second generation dmax has a slightly stiffer suspension setup than the first generation. Therefore, the high-speed stability is slightly better. But the problem with it is not stiff enough. Sometimes I do experience suspension bottom up. The rear passenger space is a huge improvement from the first generation. Not only the space, but the length of the seat is also significantly longer. As for the interior, it looks more sleek. Also, it feels more ergonomic. In case you need to carry something in the cabin, the backrest can be flipped down and the seat can be flipped up. This is useful when you carry something oversized or something dirty. Not to forget to mention, there's a hidden compartment below. What I like about my second generation dmax is there are plenty of compartment space. To me, this is the most convenient one. The space under the armrest is bigger than the first generation. It just compartments everywhere. Stepping into the third generation, everything is modern and edgy. The 9-inch touchscreen LCD is only available for the xterrain model. There's Android Auto and I've tested it with my phone. Not sure about Apple CarPlay because I'm not an iPhone user. The sound system on this car is very good indeed. The setting of the function of the car can be accessed over here. That include all kind of convenience and safety features. The Aerofoil Wet Wiper system is only available for the xterrain model. There's an 8-way power adjust and lumbar support seat, but only for the driver. The rear passenger space seems bigger than the second generation. The backrest can be flipped down and seat can be flipped up as well. This is very useful when you carry something and you don't want to damage the leather seat. Well, treasure hunt. Nope, nothing. Similarly to the second generation, but the top part is being dampened. Something I don't understand over here. The bottom part is very heavy, but it is not being dampened. I find it strange on the sunglass compartment also. It seems stuck and not being dampened. Both sun visors is having mirror and lights. Similar to the second generation, but this one looks a lot more well built. The cup holder is being designed to be very flexible. Big or small, no issue. You have telescopic steering adjustment, but it is manual.